Welcome to the Dogs Are the Best Friends podcast. I'm Emily, and my best buddy, Flynn, is here too. The purpose of this podcast is to bring you some dog stories and a few tips along the way to help you and your best friend communicate. Happy Labor Day, everyone, at least in the United States. This Wednesday's episode, I'll have a nice mix of training and stories for you. I'll share how to stop your dog from barking at the wrong times, along with a mini story about a dog named Max, who is truly a lifesaver. Today, we have an exciting guest. We have Marco. You might not want to meet Marco or his students in a dark alley somewhere, as he's a mixed martial arts coach. However, you'll want to hear how he talks about the sweetness and fun that a puppy has brought into the life he shares with his beautiful wife and 3 children. Here is their story. Marco, it's so fun to meet you. I met you through a Facebook group, and we have a common interest in podcasting, but we have a really important common interest, and that's dogs. And I'm so glad you're here today. I want to hear all about your dog.
This is really exciting because I'll be 48 next month, and I feel like I've wanted a dog my whole life. I've wanted my own dog my whole life, right? And for various reasons, I haven't been able to have one. My parents, when I was a kid, that wasn't something they were going for. And then I did a lot of traveling as a young man. And then I met my wife and we started a family. And she also is a dog lover, right? And she's also wanted a dog, but we were just like, hey, let's raise our kids and let's get to a point where we feel like, hey, having a dog would be the right thing. Just so happens that the first house we bought that we currently live in has a doggy door.
Oh, no
right?
kidding.
I guess the family before us had, yeah. So I had a dog. So now we get to use our doggy door when we have to let, her name is Bella Bear, our rescue dog.
Cute.
Yeah. My wife and I both wanted it. My wife wanted me to make sure that everybody knows that she's the lead trainer. All right. That she takes care of what the rules are for the dog. And I get to walk the dog and take her to the dog park most of the time.
Good. You got it up.
During the pandemic, everything's been locked down. Right. So my wife and I, much like many people around the country, were like, hey, you know what? When would be a better time to get a dog? When would we have all this time to be able to train a dog? And we're like, hey, you know what? Let's go get a dog. Well, get in line,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody wants a dog,
Yes.
right? And everybody wants a rescue. And it was really, really frustrating at first because we applied for like 30 to 35 dogs,
Wow.
right? And it wasn't like we weren't fit to adopt. It was just that we were so far back in this line that we didn't give up. And my wife is a really big believer in, like, you know, when the right dog for us comes around, it'll happen.
Absolutely.
And we found this dog. We live in Philadelphia, and there was a rescue. They bring dogs down from, I guess down south, they don't spay and neuter as much, or in some areas of the South or whatever, right?
Right. That does happen.
So they bring these dogs from Alabama. Yeah. And we had to drive an hour to Maryland to get Bella Bear.
Wow.
And we took our kids. We didn't tell them. We didn't tell them what was going on. So it was a surprise. I walk in. I said, all right. Before I would have said yes, sight unseen, but I told the place that we're like, hey, I want to minimally meet the dog, make sure that there's a connection. And I walk in. It was a house setup. I sit down, and she comes over to me. She starts licking my face.
Oh.
And yeah. And I walk out, and I just give my wife the thumbs up. She goes in, and then she comes out, does the paperwork, and we drove an hour back with our new dog.
Oh my goodness. And the kids, were they ecstatic or they weren't there?
No, they were there.
Okay.
The kids were with us. So my daughter was just amazed. And my sons have special needs.
Okay.
So this was part of the things that we wanted to do, was get a puppy to make sure that our dog could grow up around our boys and make sure that it understood who they were and how, certain things that they do. They have autism. Okay. So my youngest son kept telling us to bring her back, that he didn't want her.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And our oldest son was just, he goes, bring her back. But now they're best friends.
Oh,
so
good.
That wasn't a problem. Our oldest son had, unfortunately, one not so great interaction with a friend's dog, in excitement knocked him over.
Oh.
And from there, he's always been a little bit apprehensive around dogs.
Sure.
So
Makes sense.
we've had Bella Bear for 3 months now, and she is so great with him, and he's really doing a great job of interacting with her and not being as scared. And it's a slow
Oh,
process,
sure.
but he's definitely way better than he was 3 months ago.
Well, that's fascinating. So just 3 months. And how old is Bella Bear? I love that name. That's too cute.
So thanks. Bella Bear is going to be 6 months on September 1st.
Oh, she was very young. You just got her at 3 months. She'll be 6 months.
Yeah,
Very
we got her at
cool.
3 months. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. It was we wanted to make sure that we got a puppy so that, especially with our boys, that they got a chance to meet her and she got a chance to realize who they are, like I said earlier,
Sure.
but also train her if the boys grab her a certain way, or, and teaching them, hey, this is how we deal with our dog. So it's really been some great lessons, because as much as we're training Bella Bear, right, we're training our kids too, to say, hey, these are the right ways that you treat your dog. These are the wrong ways. This is why we do certain things.
Yeah. Wonderful. And is she a mix, or what kind of dog is she?
So I want to get, not that it would matter, but I want to get one of those DNA tests.
Okay.
Right. But she's part black lab, and one piece of the paperwork says German Shepherd, and another piece of the paperwork says Spaniel.
Oh.
So we definitely see the black lab in her.
Okay.
I see some of the brown coating of a German Shepherd,
Oh.
but then I see like the white paws and the white chest of a Spaniel. So who knows? Could be all three.
Right.
Could be none. Once we get the DNA.
Yeah, that's what you are going to do. DNA. Interesting. You want to know?
I think so. Just so that, like, when somebody asks me this question,
Right.
I could say she's 50% this, she's 20% that, and 30% this, but
Yeah.
for no other reason. It's not gonna change how we feel about it.
Right. Too cute. Yeah, it's I've had mixed dogs, I've had purebreds. They're all wonderful. It doesn't matter. It's the training, right? It's the family, how you bring them up. That's what matters. That's the biggest part.
Yeah, and it's funny because she's like, I don't know, for any parent out there, they tell you, like, when you have kids, you don't really remember what it was like not to have kids, right? And now I feel the same way that we have Bella Bear. It's like, oh wow, that looked so empty before, like, even with the kids, it's like, wow, she adds so much to our family and our life that I couldn't imagine going back to what it was like without her,
Right. Wow. And that's just 3 months. You guys really are dog people. Too cute. So you said you and your wife wanted a dog for years. Did you grow up with dogs at all? You or your wife, either one of you?
My mom grew up in South America.
Oh, wow.
And she said she grew up with dogs her whole life.
Yeah.
Right. But they were mainly like outside dogs. They lived kind of like in a farm type setting.
Sure.
So she said she's always had dogs. And my mom is a clean freak, and she just, for whatever, like, the dog shedding was not going to be something that she was going to have in the house. And my wife didn't grow up with a dog either. So we're like first time, in our mid 40s, like, owning a dog.
Wow. That's huge. That's a big
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Good for you guys taking that on. Now, did you read any books ahead of time to know how to train the dog, or like what kind of things have you done?
A lot of my friends have dogs, so I'd always go out of my way to hang out with them and walk them to kind of see what was what. And I learned kind of, okay, this is what I like about how this dog acts. This is what I like about how that dog acts. And for us, even with our boys, they have to have manners, right? There's no excuse not to have manners.
Right.
That she walks next to us, she's not a puller, and that she, as best as her self-control will allow her, not to jump on people, and she's not allowed on the furniture, and so forth and so on. So those were some of the things. And I talked to a few of my friends that have been dog owners for years, and they gave us, because remember, my wife's the lead trainer, gave us some really good advice. And my wife has been taking Bella Bear to classes on Saturdays.
Oh, nice.
To help with certain aspects.
Yeah.
And then she kind of trains me and tells me, okay, this is what you're supposed to do when you're with it.
Yeah. Wonderful. And it's good that you two have spoken about that and that you're on the same page.
So we have a couple places that we go to. She loves the dog park, which is great. We have an old, like, decommissioned Navy yard that's been like just built up. It's beautiful with all this grass and this, walkway by the river.
Oh,
So we get to
nice.
take her there.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm walking her through the city, and you've been to Philly, so you remember it's, sidewalks and houses very close together, I'm really proud of her because I guess a lot of the dogs in the neighborhood aren't socialized
Oh,
because
no.
they see her and they kind of start barking and lunging, and she just kind of looks and she keeps on her way.
Wow.
Like I'm really proud of and happy that kind of what we're doing, but also her temperament and her personality is kind of not letting her engage those dogs in that kind of aggressive behavior.
Yeah, that's huge. That's wonderful that she already has that you don't have to work on that. That's a beautiful thing. And you probably praise her, but yeah, I would just praise her. And that's wonderful. So she sounds like she's a sweet, patient dog. And how wonderful is that for your family? That's a great thing.
I think she's a genius. Like I'm just like I'm since I've never had a dog, like all the stuff she does, I'm like, wow, this is really impressive. Like when we do in autism, like things you try to be as regimented as you can,
Sure.
right? So we have a family treat time at 3:00. And my wife says, you got to get down here and see this. So as the kids are lining up for their treat, Bella's in the back of the line sitting. She's like, okay, I'm in line too. Like I'm next. Yeah. And she knows like when she goes outside, she does her business. We have a crate. So she sleeps in her crate,
Okay.
and we have, I forget the actual name of the leash, but my wife has, I think it's called an intermediary leash where I guess it's like a lead where it goes around her neck and then part of it goes around her snout,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it helps with the pulling and that kind of stuff. And it doesn't really kind of hurt her throat,
Right.
which was a problem we were having when we had a regular leash where she would pull so much that I was like, you're going to hurt yourself.
Right.
Like, and I don't want to use the like a choker leash or a choker collar or anything like that.
Right.
And this I don't know, I forget the exact name of the leash that we're using, but this has been great because she doesn't pull on it whatsoever.
Good. So what has this meant to you guys? Like how has she changed your family?
My wife just sent me a text message. It's called the transitional lease. The text message popped up on. I guess she could hear me. It's called the transitional lease.
Okay.
Leash, I should say. So, man, what do we love? What do we love best? Is it's been for me and the lead trainer, who happens to be my wife, and the kids. It's just she's folded in. It hasn't been the kind of thing where it's like she feels out of place with us.
Yeah.
It's like she is. We went to go visit my mom, the kids' grandma. We call it in Italian. You call your grandma Nonna,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Italian families, like like my kids walk out with money every time they see their grandmother, right? And my daughter says, "How come Nonna didn't give Bella Bear any money?"
Oh.
Right? It's like, so she's looking at it like, "Hey, she's our little sister. Like, why didn't she get anything out of this?" So I think for me, it's really sweet to see the family come together around the dog. Like we're a pretty tight family as it is, but having the dog make us even tighter.
Oh, yeah, that's so sweet. That's amazing because you're bonding through this friendship and dogs are
So
just pure love.
they are, and we've never met as many people. We're a quiet family. So we've lived in this house for 11 years. We've never met more neighbors since we got Bella Bear.
That's
Right?
true.
Like we're just walking her and people stopping and talking to you.
Yeah.
Or meeting people at the dog park and
Yep.
like taking her there. It's been
True.
super interesting, the social aspect of it. And it's funny because for me, like I talk about all the sweet stories, but I run and I train people how to fight.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a mixed martial arts coach.
Yes.
Right. And all I could tell my students about is how excited I am that I get to be on a podcast to talk about my dog. It's like, this is like this new chapter in my life.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. That is so sweet. Yeah, because like you said, that's your job and you love it. You love martial arts. It's you and you have a podcast about it. I mean, it's your day in and day out thing.
Yeah.
And then now you have this dog come into your life 3 months ago, only 3 months. And you guys are already so bonded clearly, which is so fascinating and so wonderful.
I wish we could have done it sooner, but like my wife says, it happened at the right time for us. And with the pandemic and us having the time to really work with her, it's great. Now as she gets a little bit older, my wife's a runner. So my wife's going to start taking her on runs with her and, get her more exercise that way. So
Yeah.
it's been great all the way around.
Yeah, it's a perfect setup in so many ways. And so the boys went from being kind of scared, at least your one son, and then now do they help in the
Yes.
training a bit too, or how do they interact with the dog? Because that's a very interesting part, being autistic. Like, do they like petting her? Or?
Yes. So my oldest son, it has to be in a very like defined manner that we do it, because he's still kind of, when he walks into the room and Bella's excited to see him, he'll start getting a little nervous and backing up. So I'll have to get next to him and show him, hey, it's okay. Bella's our friend. She's part of our family. And then we sit down on the couch and Bella comes over and I go, Alberto, his name's Alberto. I go, do you want to pet Bella? And he'll start petting her, right? And she'll start licking him and he'll start giggling and laughing, right?
Great.
So that's how he's working his way through it. My youngest son, we have a little playpen for Bella, and he's his autism expresses itself a bit differently. So he's more social, and he'll play with Bella and he jumps in her playpen with her and he'll give her treats and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And my daughter, who's 7, she hasn't had to clean up after her, but she'll go with us to the dog park, or she'll put her leash on her or her collar.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So far, it seems to be that the key to getting her not to chew on everything in the house is getting her a bunch of exercise. So if we get her the exercise, then a lot of that, the sensory that she gets from chewing, she doesn't seem to need it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, they definitely need their minds and their bodies exercised, all the above. What do you think are some of the fun little characteristics about her personality, or does she do anything silly yet? I would imagine that's starting to come out at, being together 3 months.
Yeah. So like, just like sitting in line behind her human brothers and sisters, I think that's like hilarious that she's like,
it is,
and how she loves, and since we live in the city, we don't have a lot of access to grass, but when we walk anywhere with grass, she's like a bulldozer and just diving in it and just, like twisting her head in the grass and flipping over onto her back as if it was this, I don't know what's going through her mind, but I'm like, what are you doing? But she's having fun. So who cares, Yeah. So that, and then otherwise, I mean, just how lovable she is and how much, like how attached she is to me and my wife. And I could also see sometimes my daughter gets a little bit upset because she wants to engage the dog, but the dog is engaging the adults, so I always think that's kind of funny. She's just a 4-legged child in our eyes right now.
Another child. So is she snuggly?
But with good manners.
Yeah.
She is, yes. And my wife has, most of my classes I teach her at night. So my wife does her bedtime routine, and my wife and her have kind of like, I guess, a little special moment before she puts her to bed. She massages her and she sits in my wife's lap, and kind of they get a chance to bond and connect. So it's really, I could see when some of the nights that I put her to bed, I could see she's like, hey, how come you're not doing this thing the other lady does? I'm like, I don't do that. I do the other stuff.
Right. Yeah. So I have to ask you this question before we go, because Bella Bear, where did that come from? It's just too cute, that name.
So her originally, when we picked her up from the Forever Paws, it's called, her name was Sable, because she's mainly black. Bella Bear was kind of, kismet, I guess, on 2 occasions where my wife came up with Bella. I started calling her Bella Bear. We loved it, and we ran with it.
I'm so grateful that you came on today, Marco, because you have such a beautiful story. I'm so happy for you guys.
I tell you, I couldn't be more excited to have been on a podcast than to be on this podcast to talk about my dog. I do cool stuff. I'll just be honest with you. Like, I travel, I train fighters. Wow. I interact with people on, and this is like one of the coolest things I've ever done, is having a dog.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you like mixed martial arts, you'll want to listen to the Ninja Rob podcast that Marco co-hosts along with his friends. Now, just a heads up, that podcast isn't for the thin-skinned, as there's language and guys being, well, guys. but they know their stuff and are passionate about it. Thank you for listening. Come back on Wednesday for a nice mix of stories and training. See you then. May we all learn to love like our dogs.